Okay, I'm on Lake Atitlan, Guatemala. I'm Andy Lee Graham, and I've lived in 114 countries for 25 plus years. Okay, I want to talk today about escaping the boring life. And I want to talk, I'm tying a lot of things in with Henry David Thoreau because he, in a way, is one of my guides and the guidebook on how I have lived my life for the last 25 years. On Walden Pond, he went there and lived for, he left on, it's interesting, he left on July 4th as like a declaration of independence, and he left society and went as an experiment to live on Walden Pond for two years, 2 months, and 2 days. Okay, and I guess I'm not quite sure I totally understand the experiment, but I think it's the idea that you could live independently, self-reliant, in solitude, and you don't need society. So what I'm going to talk today about is what my rendition is that how to escape the boring life, okay? How to escape the machine that we call society, how to be a tribe of one. My website is Andy Lee Graham, Tribe of One, over 100 countries and over 25 years of nonstop travel. A little cold today, my eyes are watering. Okay, plus I got a new bald head and it's kind of cold. I never realized how much my hair protected me from the cold. But Thoreau went to the woods, and a lot of people dream about going to a deserted island, or they want to go live in a shack or a cabin in the middle of nowhere. And I I haven't really ever understood the idea that this was a big deal until recently. I was talking with Laura Dosso Walls, and I guess the experiment is that to go live alone. Um, didn't seem like, for a farm boy, I could fix anything but a broken heart. Didn't seem like a big deal to me to go live in a, got some waves here, go live alone in the thing. But I did understand the idea of leaving society, and I think what happens here is the attraction of the book is two different things. Nature, people want to go live in nature, and there's almost a fantasy like understanding here. They want to go live in nature. They want to leave their boring life away in the past, and they want to go be free. And that is what I have done for 25 years. And I've also lived in about a 12 by 15 room too. Okay. And I enjoy living in a very small room. But Thoreau went to the woods, and I think what you're seeing here is the boring life is to obey somebody. Okay. Um, but I don't really think he was totally trying to escape society. In my opinion, Henry David Thoreau wasn't trying to escape society. He just said ignore them, okay? And this is where I differ on a lot of people. I think a lot of people think that the only way to live like Thoreau is to go escape society. You don't have to do that. You just have to ignore the people. Now, anybody that you care about what they think of you is controlling you. And one of the things I admire about Henry David Thoreau is I don't think he's, I don't think it registered in his brain that he was supposed to pay attention to other people. Maybe he respected Ralph Waldo Emerson and a few of these Harvard people, but overall, what's ironic about him, see, Ralph Waldo Emerson talked about nature, blah, 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 but he never really left society. He lived right in thing. He didn't go live in nature. But nature to me includes society, okay? Um, this idea of totally separating and living in a shack in the middle of the woods. Um, truly, I've been on deserted islands. I was on Koh Taro Tao in Thailand, uh, where they filmed. What's making the noise? Where they filmed Survivor Thailand, and I can tell you, living on deserted islands is not that much fun. Okay, after about 3 days, you've had your fill. Okay, but living isolated, he was actually only, I don't know, 30 minutes walk, 1.7 miles or something from Concord. So he could always go walk into town. But he wanted to say, kind of like permaculture. A new trend on the planet is called permaculture, and it's a self-contained area. I first seen it almost 20 years ago in Costa Rica by this German guy. It's the idea that you have everything you need on the land. Okay, so you're self-reliant only on the land, and I mean, but to totally be autonomous from the rest of the world is kind of the goal. But you want to escape the world. So if you want to escape the boring life, you want to escape the world, you want to escape the boss. Most of you somehow feel that society is interfering with your life. Um, you want to escape your captors. And I don't know why I use this word, but I've been using it when I first started writing. This is before they had blogs or even YouTube. I was writing YouTube, and at the end of the newsletter, I wrote like 200 newsletters. I would say, plan your escape. And I realized subconsciously that I was escaping, but I didn't really plan to escape. I'm not sure Henry David Thoreau was trying to escape. I think he was really just, he wanted 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days to go write some books. So he kind of wrote Walden, but he didn't publish it for about 8 years later. But the reason why this is why the book is loved. Everybody wants to escape the rules, the boss, the fathers, the mothers, and society. That's kind of the dream, right? And what's interesting is everybody actually just loves the book because of the idealistic idea. Go live in nature, go live in a place by yourself. But like less than, nobody does it, okay? I have, okay, for 25 years. But to me, the idea of living alone was never my goal, okay? I have never wanted to be without friends, without people, without interdependencies. I consider I'm not dependent on people. I've been self-employed for almost all my life except for 2 years. And then I also worked on a farm for about, I don't know, 8 summers or something like that. And it taught me resilience, it taught me independence, and it taught me that I could take care of myself. What a lot of people, I think, are afraid of by going in the woods is they couldn't build a house. They couldn't cut down the trees. They couldn't do this. They couldn't build a night. And guess what? When the settlers in the United States came and they started moving across the country in Conestoga wagons, all of them did it, okay? Whether they built a sod house out of grass, or they dug a hole like Henry David Thoreau in Walden writes about digging a hole, okay? And living in this hole and covering it up with things. But the fantasy here and the reality, see, that's the problem I have, is I think people are reading Henry David Thoreau's Walden like a fantasy. Like he's got this idealistic world, and yeah, he did it, but it's not for anybody else. It's only for him. And in some ways, writing fantasy is a much easier way to live than to write reality. I write only reality, and I only propose things that I believe that the average person can do. Okay, and I'm not going to make hokey pokey you know, blue, you know, rose-colored glasses realities. I'm living in paradise, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of paradise, because people think that, you know, they want to dream about paradise and it's just a fantasy. It doesn't have to be, guys. You can go do it. But his experiment was that he could escape and live for 2 years. I can escape the world without leaving. Why? You got to shut off the people. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of people obviously are afraid of society. They got anonymous emails. They won't put their picture on the thing. They won't say hi to anybody. They're afraid of the world. And that is not living, guys. When you have an anonymous emails, when you're using a Proton mail or a Gorilla mail, and you got it so that nobody can contact you. I put my telephone number on almost all over my website. I put my email address, hoboontheroad@yahoo.com. Why? Because part of nature is in the second chapter, he talks about the meanness. He wants to find out if there's meanness and there's good people. There's always good people. That is getting to be less because these people, like if you come up to me and you won't say your last name and won't introduce yourself properly, I just say thank you and I go do something else. If you write me an email and you're not being really transparent, I just say goodbye. Sometimes people, the anonymous people, do write some really good questions that get me intrigued, because I have a philosophy of curiosity. And okay, so what is the formula here? You have to be able, what Henry David Thoreau really proved, okay, and this is where I'm always laughing, because what he really proved to me was, I'm gonna see if I can move this over a little so you can see my face better, I guess. I'm on Lake Atitlan, but there's kind of a cloud over the two volcanoes over there. What he really proved was that the cost of escaping society is almost nothing. He proved, he quotes this, he said he lived for 5 years by only working 6 weeks a year. This is like 1 week, 1 day a week, okay? And how did he do it? Okay, so all the cost of escaping the boring life, the society, to become thing, it's not about, the word isn't correctly said minimalist. Minimalist is just a trendy, fashionable word, as is digital nomad. I'm definitely digital, and I'm definitely probably nomad because I go anywhere I want. Most nomads only go where other nomads are going because they want safety. But it doesn't take that much bravery, okay, to actually escape. What you have to do is go to a place where the cost of living is cheap. So like right here on Lake Atitlan, I can live for, I can rent a room for $180 a month. And what does that mean? I can actually live for $500 a month, let's say $15 to $20 a day. So if it's $20 a day, I'm $600 a month. And I've stepped away from society. Okay, so how do I do that? And this is what Henry David Thoreau constantly says in the chapter Economy. And he wrote the chapter Economy for a specific reason, to say that the cost of living, if you remove the superfluous stuff, everything that society wants you to do, and you do a tribe of one, it costs almost nothing to live, okay? It really is super easy. Generally, in the 200 normal countries on the planet, they hardly work. They act like they work, but they basically sit around and talk to their friends all day. And they're lucky if they have, you know, they have very few, they have very little money comes in. All they need to earn is about $20 a day. Over 50% of the planet earns less than $200 a day. No, $200, $20 a day, $600 a month. Less than 50% of the planet, 50% of the planet earns less than $20 a day or $600 a month. Probably 30% has no electricity, okay? And they're living just like Henry David Thoreau. I want you to think about that. They're living in a subsistence existence. Okay, subsistence farming. And that is what Henry David Thoreau, he wasn't a hunter-gatherer, a little bit hunter. He was gathering huckleberry, beans or whatever, not huckleberry berries. Huckleberries. Okay. But he wasn't a hunter. Once in a while he'd go fishing. He went hunting with a few people, but he wasn't really wanting to be a hunter. But he was a subsistence farmer. The great thing Michael Crichton talks about is subsistence farming is 100% employment. And if anybody's having trouble staying employed, you might think, hey, all I got to do is just go live on a plot of land. But truly, all it takes to be a tribe of one, to be independent, is roughly $600 to $1,000 a month. If you got $1,000 a month, anybody that's retired with any more, on almost any amount of Social Security. I only get $550 a month or something like that in Social Security. I net out about $450 after I have full coverage insurance, okay? But the goal here is to escape the boring life. That's what his experiment to me was about. It wasn't so much, he basically wants to save communion, living with nature, and I will say that if you go for a walk every morning and you leave the society behind and you can somehow escape the music, the motorcycles, the traffic, whatever, clarity comes, okay? There's a certain insightful of the transcendentalist type mentality that is brilliant. Going for a walk is when you have your best ideas. And I have a way to always take notes so that I can always make progress. Tony Robbins yesterday was saying people that are making progress towards their kind of objectives are happy people. People that are not making progress and they don't have any objectives, they really are just putting in their time. I realized my Mom Graham, came down to Lake Athlon to be away from Indiana for the 3 months when my father died. So I brought her down here. But that gave her a story. And I truly believe that everybody needs a future story. And that is, when Henry David Thoreau says, follow your dreams, he says, go find your story. But when you do leave, what's interesting is when you escape your boring life, and then you say, I'm just going to buy what is necessary, which makes it incredibly easy to live, even in the United States. If you only got a one-room place, I mean, there are places in Fort Wayne I know of where it's just a one-room place, or you rent one room in a person's house. You can do this even still in the United States for $300 if you're a nice person. Okay, I'm going to go camp inside the United States. I found out I could camp in the state parks primitive for $12 a day. And so I'm going to go prove this roughly starting on July 4th. But what happens is, so you go out and then you want to, Henry David Thoreau went to find the meaning of life. Now what he doesn't talk about is God. He does always have this overlay of divinity, or he talks about Buddhism or whatever. But you got two ways to go after you declare your independence. You can be a person that's trying to make the world a better place. That's what I want to do. I want to share my life with you. I want to share and tell you you're all free already. Okay, you just are obeying society because you obey society. That doesn't mean you do the opposite of society. It doesn't mean you have to go get tattoos. It doesn't mean you have to dress like a clown. It just means when they want me to go work all day, I say no and I go live in a place that because there's 200 countries on the planet where it's super easy to live on $20 a day. 200 countries, $200, $20 a day. Did I say 200? $20 a day makes it super easy to live. Very simple. The other 25 overdeveloped countries, it's insanely complicated. You got to work by the sweat of your brow. And Henry David Thoreau was saying, hey, this idea of working by the sweat of your brow is something that society is teaching you, that church is teaching you. But once you split off, do you want to make the world a better place? Do you want to make, I believe that people should want to make the world a better place. 90% of the people that actually go claim their freedom and like come to Lake Athlon, they hate the world, okay? And it's kind of sad because they go to the dark side, okay? And they hide from them. They won't tell anybody their name. So you got this 95% of the population that is really just kind of lazy, okay? They don't want to make the world a better place. They don't want to do anything. They just want to live in complete comfort and be a big fish in a small pond in a way. Because what happens when you go to the 200 developing countries, the 200 normal countries, the third world. The third world thing is an insult, guys. Don't use that really, but that's what you think about it. These countries are closer to nature than the United States. I mean, not just closer, 5 times closer to nature, what Thoreau was talking about, than the United States. But they're changing rapidly. The motorcycle's taking over the planet. Music's taking over the planet. The smartphone's taking the planet. But you can always separate. Okay, you can help people or you can be selfish. And what do most people do is most people are working for money or social status. A lot of you know that I really don't care about either one, okay? And that is freedom. When you make only videos that are perfect, you're caring about social status. When you're trying to get how many likes you got on the video, you're working for social status. You're not free. You're owned by the opinion of who likes your videos, okay? Who cares about you? What you should always care about is your family, your friends, and people that actually care about you instead of this nebulous, super crazy. I mean, why would I ever care about what somebody on TikTok cares about me? Why would I care a little bit more about Facebook because it is some people I know. But I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. And that right there is the essence of freedom. Can you be a person that actually doesn't care if somebody thinks? I have people come up to me and say, Andy, you're an asshole. And I go, yeah, I'm sure. Can you be more specific, please? Okay, but you have 2 choices. After you get your freedom, you have to choose whether you're going to be on the side of the good guys or the bad guys. Now, some of you are going to do things in the name of God. And some of you are just going to believe in good. Okay. I believe in good. I believe in God. But whether I do or don't believe in God, the existence of God is not really so important because how I act is always going to be the same. But people that are on the dark side are always looking for an angle. They're always trying to think. When you talk to somebody that is always, they're not transparent, they're not really straightforward with you, just walk away and erase them. Especially the people, foreigners living abroad. Most expats living abroad hated their country. They were losers in their countries. They were unwanted in their countries. And they're wanted by the law in their country, okay? So they left to escape. And it really, was just a quirk of nature. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain to you is an equation, really. Okay, all you got to do to leave the boring life, to leave the machine, to become, to separate from society, from separate from the machine, is really be an honest person, be straightforward, be brave. Anybody that's using a fake name or putting a Canadian flag on their backpack, they're not really brave enough to travel the world. They're really not brave enough to do anything. They're wimps, okay? You don't want to live your life like a wimp. You have no self-esteem when you do that. You want to be proud of your name. I'm Andy Lee Graham. Very proud of my family. I came from a good family. I started traveling because I went on a 6-week vacation to Mexico, and I realized, wow, I can get a room for $10 a night. I figured out 1 month's pay and I can live here a whole year. And I thought, why would I go work? But I was always self-employed, and I always know that if I wanted to, I have different trades, okay? And if you have some skills, you can do it. If you're owned by your boss and the boss earns all your money and all you do is are put in a place, again, I think Henry David Thoreau was continually trying to say, go do what you love to do the kind of work that you love to do, and make money so that you never work. There's a kind of a theory that if you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. I haven't worked really hardly ever in my whole life. Even when I worked on the farm and I was working 12 hours a day, I loved it. I didn't sit around thinking about the clock. Only one job I ever had where I was going, oh man, I can't wait for the day to go. And that was a factory. But money does not buy you happiness. Making progress and the mastery of something. But how can you become the master of something? You need time. So buy your time. I especially encourage people that are under, say, 25 to go do this, because you only have one time when you're young. And it's only one time when you're brave. And people get very fearful as they get older. I get braver as I get older. Why? Because the world is a safe place. I have people tell me constantly what's dangerous someplace, and I go, stop watching the news, please. It's so annoying when people watch, you know, CNN and Fox and all these news. They lie. They all lie. The world is extremely safe. It's getting kind of boring, actually. Okay, so my theme here is an equation. If you need about $600 to $1,000, $1,500 a month. If you're an alcoholic and drug user, you might as well double it, because your addictions control your life. They are your boss. Then you can go live in 200 countries, okay? And you just find a place, you go park it, and you try to understand what you're doing. And then you try to separate your needs from your wants. And I'm often amazed at how many people cannot separate their needs from the wants. I don't know what to say sometimes. That's the reason why it's really good to move like every 2 months, because then you'll separate your needs from your wants, because you're not going to carry more than you need, okay? You're going to carry just what you need and you want. I have a lot of wants in my backpack, but I don't try to be a minimalist, because I think that's just that's like saying I'm going to give up something just to call myself a name. Okay, I call myself a tribe of one, independent. If I had more money, say I had a $2,000, $3,000 a month, say I had a $3,000 a month budget, I would carry, I don't know, I used to always carry for a long time 2 full-size backpacks. I might carry 3 full-size backpacks. Why? Because there's things that are nice to have that I get tired of going and buying. But the secret of doing this, escaping the boring life, is get on the plane. Don't try to super analyze this. find a place where you can rent a room for, you know, 300, 400, 500. I've lived in Europe like 8 times. Each time I paid around 300 to 400 euros. You can live in the highly developed countries. I can go back to Fort Wayne, Indiana and find a room, or Angola, Indiana, and I'm guaranteed with enough time, a little more difficult, I can find a room for $300 or $400 a month in somebody's house, probably with a private entrance and Wi-Fi, right? What we need and what we want, what you want makes you a slave. What you want makes you a slave. What you want makes you a slave. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Hit that subscribe button. I have a Patreon. If some of you think that I should be talking to the world, please click on my Patreon link in the description and help me to travel. I'm in January, February, just about March. In March, it'll be 26 years. I've lived in I love these 10 by 15 rooms. I absolutely love. Why? Because I don't have to think about maintaining a house. I call up all my friends in the United States and all they do are busy. And I go, you're supposed to be retired. They're always behind the 8 ball. What you want, the things you want make you a slave. The things you want make your life boring. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Click on the Patreon link, please. Life is good. I'm here and you're not. Why not?